Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining us today. It's tomorrow's, I think, the last day of Shraddh. So, we're just looking at the journey of the soul from the spiritual world into the material world and what happens in this material world. So we went through quite a few bits and pieces yesterday. So I'll just do a very quick summary of what we did talk about. So the soul original position is in the spiritual world. And for some reason, for whatever reason, it became envious of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord created this world so that we can fulfill our desires, which are independent or separate from the Lord. And in this world, we're a little bit like fish out of water. We're struggling because we are permanent living entities. And we are trying to enjoy in a world which is full of temporary, it's a temporary world. It's full of birth, death, old age, disease. There's change at all times. But the soul never changes. So it's incompatible situation. So happiness deludes one who is seeking it in this material world. And then we talked about how the soul comes into this world because it's just come directly from the spiritual world. It's very powerful. He's still got the spiritual tej. So he gets the post of Brahma or high position like that in this material world. And then due to pride, generally, he falls down into the material pool. The head of this sampradaya is Lord Brahma. So one might ask, is he somebody who's a fallen soul going in the wrong direction? But no, our Brahma actually is a pure devotee who's going in the right direction. So we're very fortunate. Okay. And to re-establish our position back in the spiritual world, we have to try to reduce our material desires and increase our spiritual desires. Material desires will lead us further into this samsara, into all kinds of crazy situations. Spiritual desires will take us out of this material world. So when we leave this body, then whatever we've done comes to fruition. That's called karma. And depending on our karma, depending on three things actually: karma, our desires, and also our consciousness. Those three factors are taken into account when our next body is allocated to us. So if our mood, karma, etc., is that of an animalistic nature, we'll get a body of an animal. If it's like a plant nature, we get a body of a plant, etc., etc. It's very perfect. There's no mistakes. It's organized by the devatas, by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there's no mistakes. It's very, very organized, very detailed, and very fair. There are no bugs in the program. So the point of death is very important. Krishna explains himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever one thinks of, whatever one thinks of at the time of death, one will achieve. And if one thinks of Krishna, then one will go back to the spiritual world. Death is a test. And at that time, whatever one has done in his life will flash by. So it's important from a young age to get into spiritual life somehow or other. Doesn't mean one has to go to the forest. One can become a devotee of the Lord in any circumstance. There's no limitation. And we talked about the mental anguish before death, the physical anguish before death, the different symptoms the mind goes through, the body goes through. And if you've been near somebody who has passed away, I think some of those features of what happens may resonate. So before dying, one must take to religious life. So try to reduce the impious activities we've undertaken throughout our life. Not that I'm saying you have, but I certainly have. So, and we also discussed about from which point the soul leaves the body is indicative of the destination. If it takes off from the lower two regions of the holes that we have in our body, the genitals, then destination is actually not good. If he leaves from the top of the head, then the destination is the spiritual world. What happens when somebody has been very sinful? The messengers of Yamaraj come, and they're quite fiery, fierce fellows. And they've got ropes in their hand, and they will take that person to their master, Yamaraj. And there are stories about this from the Bhagavatam. Ajamil is the case in which we're talking about, 6th canto. But there are also modern day examples which we talked about. One devotee, somebody had come to him and told him about seeing these crazy fellows. But luckily he had a Sri Shopanishad, and that saved him. And there's quite a lot of stories about those incidences. In fact, there's even a book written at the hour of death where a girl on the brink of death told people present that the Yamadutas had thrown their ropes around her. Later rope marks were found on her legs. So this isn't make-believe. This isn't something that the scriptures have made up or the acharyas have made up. This actually is there. Okay, so let's start with part 2. The pure devotee is always with the Lord, but a pious person who is not completely fixed in Krishna consciousness, in old age, afflicted with disease and the unfavorable health conditions, knowing death to be near, should be fearless and alert and make any reparations for sins committed, knowingly or in ignorance. So this is good to go over. We did do this yesterday, but it's just good to go over it. Worshipping Vishnu in the form of Shaligram, giving a gift of a decorated cow to a Brahmin. At least once in our life, donate a cow, donate Gomata to a worthy family, at least once. Or give the cash equivalent so that it's done on your behalf. Worship with fragrant substances, with flowers, saffron, tulsi leaves of the holy basil. So you should do arti every day. Because the next one is also incense, lamps, offering of food and sweets, and many other things. Give gifts to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. Feed them with Mahaprasad. So when it comes to sharing, we should not be shy, especially with the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. And of course, recite the Maha Mantra. That those relatives who come and cry at this time are not really relatives. Those who recite the holy name of Krishna near the deceased, they're called relatives. They've got your real interest at heart. Just the name of Krishna destroys tens of millions of great sins, just like that, to ashes. And the example is even the name of Narayan, who is an incarnation of an incarnation of an incarnation of Krishna, saved Ajamil from hell. The sinful man is not able to sin while the power of the name Hari is uprooting the sins. O twice born, Yamraj said to his servants, bring the man who denies chanting the holy name, but do not bring those who meditate on the name Hari. So it's very important that we do chant the holy names. Chanting is such an important thing. Okay. When the soul leaves the body or is dragged out by the Yamadutas, we know that event as death. The gross body no longer is occupied by the soul. According to the Pindopanishad, the soul no longer has a physical body, stula sharir, after death. But wanders in a subtle body. So there's two bodies that we have with us, even today, even now. There's the gross body made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then there's a subtle body, the linga sanra, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So that subtle body carries the soul out of the gross body. It can't drink or eat. In this state, the soul is called preta. The subtle body consists of the mind, intelligence, ego. Death involves a contamination period for the relatives of the deceased, whose length varies according to family status. Depends on whether one is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Each one has different periods of contamination. During this time, one should not study the holy scriptures, perform fire sacrifices, worship the deity, or should do it through the mind, or even receive guests. Why? Because at this time, one is very emotional. And when one is very emotional, it's not recommended that we study the scriptures, etc. Because our thinking is not in the right frame. However, if one has taken vows which involve daily deity worship or study of the scriptures, etc., such vows should not be broken. It's more important to do the spiritual activities. The contamination period lasts as follows: 10 days for the Brahmins, 12 for the Kshatriyas, 15 for the Vaishyas, 30 for the Shudras. If death strikes a distant relative, the Saucha, the unclean period, lasts 3 days. In respect of the three types of people, the following is a journey in general terms, but every situation will be different. So these three were the ones where we discussed. One is a devotee, one is complete crazy fellow, and one is mixed. The devotee of the Lord are taken by the Vishnudutas to the spiritual world by special delivery. For example, Ajamil or Dhruv Maharaj. The Vishnudutas came and escorted them to the spiritual world. The pious begin the journey to Yamaloka, not to be punished, however. They still have to go to Yamaloka. And the sinful begin the journey to Yamaloka, but after 11 days. The impious soul takes time to understand and accept that emotional detachment with loved ones was with its previous body. The soul stays around the area for 11 days as he is attached to his near and dear ones, especially when they're crying and they're calling out his name, and the soul doesn't want to leave because it's so attached. So we don't do a favor to the soul by remaining attached. Of course, we don't want to be hard-hearted at the same time, but we have to understand the soul has its own journey, and we might be holding that soul up if we are constantly crying, because the soul doesn't want to leave. It wants to try to comfort. Don't worry, I'm here, I'm not dead. But he can't talk. You can't hear him anyway, because he's in his subtle body. Unless one is a ghost, in which case, so that deceased does not wander like a ghost in the ether with only a subtle body. So that he doesn't wander as a ghost, one must make offerings to him. During the contamination period, one offers the deceased daily water to make this disentanglement process easier for the soul. So we talked about that a little while back, I think on the Ekadashi day. Very important to offer water to the deceased. Prayers and intention of offerings offer solace to the departed soul. On the 11th day after the demise, for the relative of a Brahmin, the house is purified, offerings are made to the departed, and 11, if possible, Brahmins are fed. During the 11 days, the soul stays 3 days in water, 3 days in fire, 3 more days in space, and then travels on the wind on the 3rd day. On the 11th day, the ceremony, which consists of in offering food, small bowls of rice cooked in milk with sesame seed, sesame, black sesame, ghee, honey, to the deceased and the forefathers should be performed. The pin ceremony should be performed by the priest. And once the presiding priest has eaten his share of the prasad and leaves after the puja on the 11th day, the Yamadutas then escort the soul to Yamaraj. Performed by the eldest son, this ritual is repeated every month for 11 months, along with 2 Shraddha ceremonies during the year. The pin ceremony ends with a last offering during the 12th month, known as Sapindati Karana, which enables the preta, the subtle body, to obtain the body of a pritu, that's the forefathers, or to enter the heavenly Pritulok planet ruled by Yamaraj. So where's Pritulok? There it is. It's below the hellish planets. Planet of the ancestors. Of course, such rituals do not erase the karma accumulated by the living entity throughout his past lives. All we're doing is helping the soul on its journey into its next body by these pin ceremonies, the Shraddha ceremonies. The Garud Purana explains that the offering of pin reforms, so again gives that a temporary body with organs and senses that are equivalent to those we are familiar with. The body is built as follows, according to the Garud Purana. So this is, I think, the 11 offerings. The first offering, head is formed, then the eyes, ears, nose, then the cheeks, mouth, neck, the heart, sides, stomach, sexual organs, the waist, the back, and the anus. So the 6th offering, thighs are formed, 7th offering, the ankles, the 8th offering, the calves, the 9th offering, the feet, 10th offering, hunger and thirst comes into play. After the 11th day, the soul begins a journey to Yamaraj. So where is Yamaloka? It is a long way away, 86,000 yojanas from Earth, which is 688,000 miles. Every day, the soul has to travel 2,000 miles. It takes 348 days to reach Yamaloka. This isn't always the case. This is just one example. Those souls that have been pious have an easier journey than those who have been impious, just like traveling in an AC compartment compared to a sleeper class compartment in a train. So this is all given in the Garud Purana. One passes through 16 cities, zones, before reaching Yamaloka, where the soul has to stop and suffer according to his karma. So this is we've sort of given a little idea of these 16 cities. Yamyapur, one reaches there after 18 days. There's a river filled with flowers. Those who have been impious are beaten with sticks and they do not get any shade. So the pinned offering in the first month can be eaten by the soul at this place. So what we're doing by the pinned offering, you're giving relief to the departed soul because he can actually eat that. Up to this point, he may not have had anything to eat. The road here has 10 suns shining and the temperature is 50 degrees. The area is like a desert. There's no shade, slippers for the soul. Those that stop are beaten to make them move on. Therefore, many people offer an umbrella, clothes, slippers to Brahmins at this time to help the departed soul on his journey. So this is interesting tradition. The 10th day, or is it the 18th day? 18th day.
Now, Prabhu, yeah, this makes sense now why we offer umbrella. Because sometimes people in Mauritius, I know they think that maybe the priest are asking, taking advantage, but it makes sense.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Sauripur, next stop, is a younger brother of Yamaraj who resides in Narendra Bhavan. One has to get his attendance noted here. Upaste. The soul reaches this city in the second month, and the pind done in the second month is received by the departed soul here. The pind is divided into 4 parts. 2 parts are for the protection of the covering of the subtle body. 1 part for the Yamadutas. So we have to make sure there's food for the Yamadutas, otherwise they will torture that soul even more. And 1 is for the nourishment for the temporary body. Therefore, if no pinda jaldan is done, then the subtle body does not get any protection or food. And the Yamadutas also don't get any food, so they become more aggressive towards the soul. Thus the soul suffers here a lot. Nagendra Bhavan, Gandhava Nagar, Shailagama. Didn't have much information on this. But this one, Shailagam, where he encounters rains of stone. There are many stone buildings there. And the soul suffers a lot. He has a body which suffers, but it does not perish. This is one of the things. The body is made to last. And the punishment is heavy, but you don't die because the body is made to last. So the suffering is even greater. Krorapur, Kronanch, Vichitri Nagar, where the river Vaitarini is flowing. It is a very dangerous river, which smells horrible due to bad things in it. It is 800 miles wide, and the soul has to cross it. So this is where I think the Godan helps. Those who have done Godan, offering of the cow, donation of the cow in their lives, they are carried in special boats across this river. So this is one of the reasons why it's recommended to do the Godan. Of course, it's good to give charity anyway. We don't really want to do it for a motive. The best charity is where we do it out of love, out of understanding, as described by Lord Krishna in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But it's just good to know. It's good to know.
Prabhu, what is the river called? You say what?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's here. Vaitarini.
Yeah, but for devotees, do we have to do Godan?
No. I mean, devotees don't need to, but devotees must. Not for this reason, of course. For the reason that we want to please Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna is, the cows, Gomatas, so dear to Lord Krishna. So if we give a gift of a Gomata to a worthy person, Krishna becomes pleased. So devotees, this is not for devotees. Devotees get a special airplane. The Vishnudutas come and take that person to the spiritual world directly, bypassing Yamaraj. This is for those who have been impious and those who have been pious in a material sense. So both go through this process, generally speaking. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, because I know some people, they do the go down when the person is very ill, isn't it? Is
Yes,
that when they,
exactly right. Exactly right. That's to avoid them or help them, if they have this journey to undertake, they're protected.
Okay.
But devotees, they will not go through this journey. But if we think we are devotees and we won't go through that journey, we will go through that journey because we're not devotees. If we think we're not devotees, we got a better chance, Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, say it again. If we are devotees.
If we think we're devotees, then we're not devotees, are we? Because that's just false ego, isn't it? Devotee means completely surrendered to Krishna. We're just aspiring devotees. We're trying to become devotees. And if we have that mood that I'm not a devotee, I'm just trying. Please, Lord, help me. Then that person will become successful because the false pride will not be there. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. We just have to beg Lord Krishna to help us.
Yeah, I think the easiest prayer, the most powerful prayer, please let me do something for you. Let me serve you. That takes into account everything. Because if we sincerely pray like that, Krishna will give the seva. He gives the seva, that means we're doing devotional service. Doing devotional service gives complete guarantee of protection. And if we pray to Krishna for devotional service, he will give it in such a way that the pride does not go out of control, because he knows what to do, what to give, how to give. So the easiest thing to ask for, and that's not selfish as well. And that's what Krishna really likes. If we say, please protect me, that's very, very selfish. Please protect me and destroy everybody else. Well, we may not have that intention of thinking like that, but please protect me. That's very, very selfish. Even to Lord Nrsingadev, if we're saying, please protect me. Why? Because I want to serve Radha Krishna. That's different. That's different.
But we can say, thank you for protecting me.
Yes. Thank you is always there. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes,
if we can say that, that's allowed, yeah?
Absolutely. Even the other thing is allowed. It's just not first class. We want to do it first class. We want to really please the Lord. Everything is allowed. But, we can say to the Lord, please protect me. But what sort of mood are we in? Please protect me. Don't worry about anybody else. Just protect me.
Yeah.
What's the Lord going to be thinking? All right. Join the queue. There's a big queue. But if you say to him,
what if you're sick?
Sorry?
If you're not well, and is it okay to say then? Just
if you're not well,
yeah.
If you're not, nobody is well, right? As long as you've got a material body, we're all struggling. Even if you're not well, if it's possible to say, please engage me in your seva, or to Lord Nrsingadev, please protect me. To Lord Nrsingadev, you can definitely ask. Lord Krishna is busy playing the flute.
Right. Oops.
But Lord Nrsingadev, his job is to protect. But we ask for that sort of protection, which is eternal. It will be for the protection of the seva for Radha Krishna. That is first class. That is first class.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Right. Bhavapadpur, Dukhadpur. So a lot of this, we didn't have any information. Nanakrandapur, Sataptap Bhavan. And we haven't really gone through the Garud Purana. It's probably not a good idea. But this is just little bits and pieces which we picked up. Raudrapur, Payovash Anpur, Sittadhya, Bahu Beti. So we reached there after 348 days. It's also called Shyamnagari. Here the report of one's deeds is done first. So this is where the, what's his name? Who's the servant of Yamaraj who reads the reports to him? I've forgotten his name now. And then finally one reaches the gate of Yamaraj. Chitragupta, that's the fellow. So here Chitragupta is on the left, it's saying. Must be, what is it on the left? And Yamaraj is seated on the throne. I'm not sure if it must be this one then. So Chitragupta is the one who keeps the records. When Jagai and Madai were on the planet and they were causing the havoc, Chitragupta gave up writing because they did so much nonsense. he gave up making a list. So let's throw them in hell. So Yamaraj, his court is 32,000 miles wide. There are 14 doorkeepers known as Shravanas. They have been listening to all of our conversations throughout our life on earth. They have been seeing all our activities. So they have an up-to-date record of our deeds, our conversations, activities. Their wives are even more clever. They have the ability to know what our thoughts are. So all these are also recorded for each soul. It's pretty heavy stuff. If anyone who has heard about Krishna or heard the Mahamantra in their lives are considered special souls. And a message is sent to Yamaraj informing him of this. Yamaraj welcomes these souls with a lot of respect. Those souls who have been impious are punished before they are sent to Chitragupta and then to Yamaraj. To the impious souls, Yamaraj seems ferocious, dressed in black, holding a yamdand made of iron in one hand and death ropes on the other. His eyes are red, he has fangs. He's 24 miles in height. For the pious soul, Yamaraj looks like a gentleman with a handsome form. Yamaraj welcomes these souls by getting up from his throne and giving him a seat. He knows that the pious soul is going to heaven. So he blesses him before sending him to heaven. The soul enters the court of Yamaraj, who consults with Chitragupta, the recorder of all one's deeds. Chitragupta reads out from the great register of worldly deeds called the Agra Sandhani Eka, the Akshakik records, the wrongful and the good actions the soul has performed in her lifetime. The information obtained through the services of the Shanavas and the Shanavinis, the wives and as well as the husbands of the different gatekeepers of Yamaraj. The Lord Yamaraj then metes out the punishment by condemning those who committed terrible sins to a hellish existence of pain, torture, and suffering. This is not eternal. This is just so that bad karma goes away, finished. Those who are virtuous and performed only noble and righteous deeds are raised to the status of Pitas and sent to the heavenly planets to reap the rewards of their good action. And then in the sixth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we went through the 26th chapter. It describes the 28 types of hell. So we can just quickly go through these. Tamisra, where a person who steals another's money, wife, or possession is put into that hell. Maharavrav, the animalistic person who lives simply in the bodily concept of life, is not excused. He's put into the hell. in this hell. Andhatam Mishra, a person who tricks somebody and enjoys his wife, is put into extremely hellish condition. Rav, the foolish person observed in the bodily concept of life, who on the basis of this principle maintains himself or his wife and children by committing violence against other living entities, is put into this hell. Kumbhikapak, the animals he killed take birth as creatures called ruros and cause great suffering for them. Those who kill different animals and birds and then cook them are put by the agents of Yamaraj into the hell known, into this hell, where they are burned in oil. Kalashutra, person who kills a Brahmin, is put into a hell known as Kalashutra, where the land, perfectly level, made of copper, is as hot as an oven. The killer of a Brahmin burns in that land for many years. Ashi Patravan, one who does not follow scripture injunctions, but does everything whimsically or follows some rascal, is put into the hell known as this hell. Shukaramuka, a government official who poorly administers justice or who punishes an innocent man, is taken by the assistance of Yamraj, to the hell known as this hell, where he is beaten mercilessly. Andakup, God has given advanced consciousness to the human beings. Therefore, he can feel the sufferings and happiness of other living entities. The human being bereft of this consciousness, however, is prone to cause suffering to other living entities. The assistance of Yamraj puts such a person into this hell, where he receives proper punishment from his victims. Krimi Bhojan, any person who does not receive or feed a guest properly, even maybe an enemy, but must receive properly, but who personally enjoys eating, is put into the hell known as this hell. There are unlimited number of worms and insects continuously biting. Sandramsh, a thief, is put into this hell. Tapta Surmi, a person who has sexual relations with a woman who is not to be enjoyed, is put into this hell. Vajrakantaka Salmali, a person who enjoys sexual relations with animals, is put into this hell. Vaitarani, so this is again the same name as the river. Oh no, it's not. It was Vaitarini. This is different. A person born into an aristocratic or highly placed family, but who does not act accordingly, is put into this hellish place full of blood, pus, urine, called the Vaitarani river. Okay, it's the same one. Puyod, one who lives like an animal. Pranarodha, the person who mercilessly kills animals in the forest without sanction, is put into this hell. Vishasan, person who kills animals in the name of religious sacrifice, is put in. So this is another thing. In the Vedas, it does allow animal sacrifice, but one who does it to satisfy his tongue goes to hell. Lala Bhaksha, a person who forces his life to drink his semen, is put into hell, this hell. Sara Medyadan, of one who sets fire or administers poison to kill someone, is put into this hell. Avichi, person who earns his livelihood by bearing false witness, is put into this hell. Ayapana, a person addicted to drinking wine, is put into this hell. Shara Kardam, one who violates etiquette by not showing proper respect to superiors, is put into this hell. Rakshogan Bhojan, a person who sacrifices human beings to Bhairav, is put into this hell. Shula Prota, a person who kills pet animals, is put into this hell. Danda Shuka, a person who gives trouble to others, is put into this hell. Avata Nirodhana. One who imprisons a living entity within a cave is put into this hell. Pariyavartana. A person who shows unwarranted wrath, anger towards a guest in his house is put into this hell. Shushi Mukha. Person maddened by possessing riches and thus deeply absorbed in thinking how to collect money is put into this hell. So this is just a sample. There are a lot more than that, but this is a sample given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sure. How to avoid the Yamadutas? Easy. Chant the holy names of the Lord, especially the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everything of the Tulsi plant, leaves, flowers, fruits, roots, twigs, skin, even the soil around is holy. So the soul of the dead man, one whose dead body is cremated using Tulsi twigs for firewood, will attain a permanent place in Vishnu Lok. Even great sinners would be absolved of their sins if their dead bodies are cremated with Tulsi twigs. So always in the coffin, we put some Tulsi twigs. If at the time of death one thinks of God and mutters his name, and if his dead body is later cremated with Tulsi twigs, he will have no rebirth. Yamadutas would keep away from one whose dead body is cremated with Tulsi twigs, and servants of Vishnu would come near. If a light is burned for Vishnu with a Tulsi stick, it would be equal to burning several thousands of lights for Vishnu. So this is a quite nice practice when we're doing our Diva in the morning, offering the ghee lamp. Just add a little Tulsi twig to it. It doesn't have to be long, 1 centimeter. So you're offering to Lord not just a ghee lamp, you're offering also the Tulsi twig to him, which is burning. If one makes the Tulsi leaves into a paste and smears it on one's body and then worships Vishnu for 1 day, one would get the benefit of 100 ordinary worships and also the benefit of doing 100 godans, gift of cows. This is from the Padma Purana. So, Gotra and lineage. Often you're asked, what Gotra are you? Especially when you're doing the Shraddh. According to the Brihad Ranyak Upanishad, the progeny of the following 7 sages, known as the Sapta Rishis, are declared to be Gotras, Gautam, Bharadwaj. So Maharaj is that. So if we don't know our Gotra, we stick to our spiritual father's Gotra. Vishwamitra, Jamdagni, Vashish, Kashyap, Sandilya. Oh, was that the 7? Yeah, that's the 7. Oh, that's it. These are just random pictures. So thank you so much. Any further questions, any comments?
Revolve, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm just telling you one incident which happened to me. Once a woman came in front of my house and she had a sick string along with her, around her neck. And she was as if dumb, not have to speak, not want to speak. But my mother has told me when such thing happened, this means that her cow was dead, and the sick string was, that is, the cow got strangled.
Wow.
And this is a very great thing. So that mother came before me, dumb, and I gave him some money, and she smiled. She was crying also, because it's a great thing for us. We are Hindus, we cannot eat flesh of cows, such and such thing. And she she was quite happy, you know. But here in near my place, there is only 5 or 6 Hindu family living, and they are Christians, they're Muslims. So she was quite happy, and she has not the right to speak and just ask for art from only Hindu people.
Mm. I
Okay.
presume she didn't. I presume she didn't strangle the cow, right?
Yes, yes. But
She-
the cow got strangled by itself.
Oh, because of the rope.
Yeah, because the rope. So
Okay. Understood.
it is our tradition, because we pray Gau Mata, you know. We worship her.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Anybody else? Otherwise, we can go to the Nishinga prayers.